turn our sights now to South Africa, where the construction sector is showing signs of life once again. In the third quarter of 2025, while the economy grew by just 0.5%, construction managed a small rise of 0.1 percentage point, and the Afrimat Construction Index, a measure of activity in the construction sector, jumped more than 10%. At the same time, government has launched its first infrastructure and development finance bond aimed at strengthening capital formation and expanding the national infrastructure pipeline. To help us better understand the significance of these developments and what they mean for South Africa's economic trajectory, we're joined by Chief Economist and Director at Econometrix, Dr. Azzar Jammine. Dr. Jammine, good to be having you with us once again. Welcome.
Thank you to you, and good afternoon to your listeners.
So we are seeing, Doctor, the construction sector showing a slight uptick of 0.1 percentage point in Q3, while the measure of the construction activity, the Afrimat Construction Index, jumped over 10%. Is the sector officially turning the tide?
It appears as if it might be turning the tide, but you've got to bear in mind that it has been an extremely depressed sector. The level of investment in construction has fallen by more than anything else in the economy. The GDP of construction has been by far the weakest of any of the 10 sectors of the economy in the last decade.
That's quite ironic, especially remember President Cyril Ramaphosa, proclaiming in the State of the Nation address a couple of years ago that his intention was to turn South Africa into a construction site. Why is this not working out?
Well, there have been a number of reasons. Firstly, and probably the most positive one that I would like to think of is that, planning construction activities takes time, and we may not yet have seen the full throughput of all the plans that have been put in place in recent years. The second reason is, and this has been a very strong reason, is that criminal syndicates have really been moving around various construction projects and actually scuppering them completely, the so-called construction mafia, where they've been demanding up to 30% of the revenue of any construction project for themselves. And this has really interrupted a lot of public sector work in construction, especially. Thirdly, more generally, there's been a lack of confidence in the outlook for the South African economy. Unfortunately, it becomes a vicious circle. The fact that construction activity has been very low is in large measure due to the fact that people have been looking at the growth rate of the South African economy at 1% or less and saying, well, is there any point in creating more capacity when growth is so low? And so they've been refraining from actually investing in new investment activities. So it's a combination of all those factors. Fourthly, more generally, one asks oneself whether the municipalities are not playing a big role in the lack of construction work, in that municipalities have become ever more enmeshed in incompetence and bureaucracy, and due to the cadre deployment process of the ANC. And where people have been appointed to decision-making positions where they really don't understand what needs to be done or how to do it. And the people that they're employed in municipalities have not had the commensurate skills to, especially in engineering, to actually undertake many of these investment projects.
We have, Dr. Azzar, now focused on the reasons why construction hasn't really taken off as much as planned in the recent past. But looking at its current performance now, 0.1 percentage point increase, and in general with Afrimat Construction Index, the entire sector jumping more than 10%. What are the factors that are driving this improvement, slight though it may be, and perhaps on the back of that as well, which parts of the sector are showing the most momentum right now?
Well, we've had a whole lot of initiatives on the part of the public sector to embark upon higher construction activity. These are of legendary proportions. In the budget itself, the government has budgeted for 1.04 trillion rand to be spent over the next 3 years by the public sector in construction activity. So, what we are now seeing is simply a follow-through of some of these projects. But the second factor is that the government has, under the leadership of President Ramaphosa in recent years, has begun embracing to a greater extent the notion of incorporating the private sector in many of these infrastructural projects. And that in turn is helping to accelerate some of the investment that is taking place, and hopefully because the private sector does contain many of the skills that would otherwise have been missing from the public sector. So that is also helping. Thirdly, generally, the mood in the economy has been gradually improving because of a variety of factors, including the fact that fiscal discipline under the newly formed government of national unity over the past year has started seeing some structural reforms, especially in energy availability and in logistics, that are helping to accelerate some construction, and in actually trying to improve logistics and energy supply. There's a lot of construction work involved there as well, and that's also helping to boost it. But I have to emphasize once more that construction has fallen so far. We're talking about not 20 or 30, but 50% over the past decade. So, we are lifting off a very, very low base. Indeed. It doesn't take a huge amount of effort to do so,
and it's quite a dramatic fall. Thank you very much, Dr. Azzar Jammine, for that, putting into context the construction industry and just how far it has fallen. Yes, this may be a slight increase, very, very slight, but really considering where the industry comes from 10 years ago, it really is a significant decline. Wondering if the Infrastructure and Development Finance Bond that government has just issued will in some way boost the construction activity and investment.